Hi, we are from Group 3. Now, this is our video presentation. And our question is, discuss with example the practice of separation power between executive body, legislative body, and judiciary body in Malaysia.
Our group member consists of Emilia, Gorini, Haswani, Amni, Jocelyn, and Felicia.
Introduction. Malaysia administrative system is currently a constitutional monarchy, and under the constitution, Malaysia practices a concept of parliamentary democracy. According to Article 127 of the Federal Constitution of Malaysia, the federal government upholds the separations of power concept. The member in legislative are also member in the executive body. For example, our Yang di-Pertuan Agong is also take part in legislative and also executive body. What is meant by separations of power in constitution? According to this idea, each of the three branches of government, the executive, legislative branch, and judicial branch, has separate roles and authorities, and none of them affect how the others run their affairs. Why is separations of power is important? It is to prevent one branch of government becoming too powerful, and it also is to abolish misuse of power and provide for checks and balance. It also to ensuring judicial stay independence and not take part in any legislative or executive body.
Legislative body. The highest level of government in Malaysia is the Parliament, Yang di-Pertuan Agong, YDPA, or known as the Head of State, the Senate, which is Dewan Negara, and the House of Representatives, which is Dewan Rakyat, serve as the three branches of government. The Federal Constitution governs this legislation. On the federal levels, laws are enacted by Parliament, and on the state level, by numerous state assemblies. The goals of legislative body is distributing power. The second one is speaking for constituencies, and the third is passing. The next legislative body is Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Yang di-Pertuan Agong, or King of Malaysia, is the official title of the Head of State of Malaysia. As we know, the term length for each YDPA to govern is 5 years, and it is non-renewable immediately. Other than that, YDPA has the power to call an assembly of parliament within 6 months of the conclusion of the pre-session proceedings. According to Article 55 of the Federal Constitution, YDPA has absolute power to dissolve parliament. Other than that, YDPA have a role in the appoint of Prime Minister. Besides that, His Majesty can requesting that a Council of Kings meeting be held for the purpose of discussing the privileges, position, glory, and greatness of the kings. Other than that, His Majesty can also reject new laws or amend existing laws, but if he does not make a decision, it automatically becomes law after 30 days from its initial presentation. What is House of Senate, which is Dewan Negara? House of Senate is the upper house, and that is used for analyze legislation passed by the lower house. For our information, the tenure of office for a maximum of 2 terms just have 3 years term, and it's applicable to both federal and state appointments. Other than that, House of Senate have 70 senators included. For our information, the Senate have 2 members. The first members have 26 members to represent 13 states, each state represented by 2 members, and this is chosen by the State Legislative Assembly. The second members have 44 members that YDPA has appointed on the advice of the Prime Minister. Besides that, Parliament's dissolution has no impact on the Senate's existence.
House of Representatives, or known as Dewan Rakyat, is the lower house. It has 222 elected members. Each member represents a parliamentary constituency. A general election is held every 5 years to elect members of all the House of Representatives. Parties with the most elected members can form a federal government to rule the country. Every member must take the prescribed oath in front of the speaker before taking a seat in Dewan Rakyat. This will make them to faithfully carry out their obligations as members to be loyal and have faith to their country, as well as protect the constitutions. The individual must meet the following requirements in order to be eligible to join. First, must be a Malaysian citizen. Second, be not less than 18 years old. Third, having a clear mind. Next, must not be an undischarged bankrupt. And lastly, cannot serve in both houses at the same time. For elections, Parliament will be dissolved and the general election must be held within 60 days. The beginning of parliamentary proceedings shall occur no later than 120 days after the day it was dissolved. The term of the current Parliament expires at the end of the 5-year term.
Executive refer to branch of government responsible for setting up policies and rules. Executive branch is oldest government in Malaysia, which is a place for the government to bring up political issues or a place in the framework of federal representative democratic constitutions monarch. In the federal government, the executive consists of Conference of Rules, Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Prime Minister, cabinet, and public service. The executive governs the country according to the law made by parliament. Each part the executive has its own role to play.
The function of executive power, the enforcement and enforcement of laws, administrative and financial functions, conduct of foreign policy, development and signing authorities, conduct of internal politics. These are the examples of the executive board.
Judiciary Body. Judiciary Body means a dispute resolution or adjudication mechanism established and regulated by law and includes courts and other tribunals. The Judiciary Body has the highest position in our system of administering justice. The judiciary is an independent branch that interprets and applies the law to ensure justice. Any law that has been enacted by Parliament may be proclaimed or declared by the court to be valid or invalid. Court hierarchy. Categorizations of courts according to strict levels of authority. A hierarchical system enables judicial review by appellate courts of decisions made by lower courts and by tribunals. The hierarchy of courts of Malaysia starts with the Magistrate Court as the first level, followed by the Sessions Court, High Court, Court of Appeal, and the Federal Court of Malaysia. The Federal Court of Malaysia is the highest court of the land. The Magistrates Court, the Court for Children, and the Sessions Court are subordinate courts. The High Court, Court of Appeal, and the Federal Court are superior courts. Meanwhile, outside the court hierarchy are the Sharia courts, Penghulus courts, and the native courts. The Juvenile Courts is parallel in jurisdictions with the Magistrates Court.